Initially, it wasn't meant to be significant. It was more for excitement. Yet, it has become one of my greatest regrets. Have you ever committed such an error? How do you manage the repercussions of it? I acknowledge my blunder, and it torments me, but I'm unsure of what course to take. My husband, aged 45, and I, aged 40, have been married for 7 years. We have a 5-year-old son together. We met through a mutual friend who set us up, neither of us seeking something serious at the time. However, we developed a bond and started dating exclusively. We got married after 2 years of courtship. My husband is an engineer at Google, while I work in the sales department of an insurance firm. Our family life was flourishing until I ruined it all. 5 months ago, my husband received a promotion at work, necessitating extended hours. Upon returning home, he was always fatigued. Our intimacy ceased, as he consistently dismissed my attempts with explanations of fatigue or similar excuses. His actions were growing frustrating for me. To shield myself from his behavior, I turned my attention towards work. A significant client, Jay, was crucial for our company's success, and I exerted considerable effort to secure him. My advancement within the company relied on this client's agreement. At 48 years old, Jay owned a small fintech firm, and if we could provide his company with our corporate health insurance, it would be a significant boost for us. It was my responsibility to make contact with Jay and elucidate all necessary details to him. My superior had stressed the importance of leaving no stone unturned in securing Jay's business. I grasped the urgency behind his words. The insurance market was experiencing a decline at this time, necessitating all possible clients to maintain our presence within the industry. Dear friends, if you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. My supervisor suggested I be friendly with Jay rather than maintaining a strictly professional demeanor to gain his trust. Adhering to this advice, I softened my interactions with Jay. However, controlling my frustration toward my husband's actions proved challenging. A pattern of issues repeated itself time and again, leading me to ask him point blank, "What's happening?" I questioned whether his lack of attraction to me or involvement with someone else was the cause. He responded that it wasn't the case and attributed it to work stress. I accepted his explanation and stopped initiating intimacy in our relationship. Instead, I channeled my energy into work. With our son away at summer camp, I found no reason to return home after work. Previously, when our son was absent and we had time alone, our relationship was characterized by passion and intimacy. Now it felt empty and solitary. We scarcely communicated. Our professional encounters with Jay were going smoothly. He had a charming personality and good looks. Our conversations about corporate health insurance often extended to meals, where we tried to maintain a balance between professional and friendly banter, but I consistently failed in this attempt. Jay's flirting was always subtle, which I dismissed as just friendly behavior. I knew he was single, but I thought his advances were misconstrued. One lunchtime, I accidentally spilled water on my blouse, and I noticed Jay's gaze lingering on my décolletage. I swiftly changed the subject to work or something else, and then Jay shifted his focus back to my face. I appreciated the way he looked at me. It made me feel wonderful. Perhaps this was due to a lack of attention at home from my spouse. Despite recognizing that it was inappropriate to welcome other men's attentions while married, my husband showed no interest in me. His consistent rejections in intimate situations left me dissatisfied and hurt my self-worth. This led me to become acquainted with Jay through work, who started inviting me out for non-work-related meals. I found solace in these interactions. My feelings for him were hard to ignore. These emotions weren't intentional. They served as a diversion from the strained atmosphere at home. As my husband increasingly immersed himself in his work, our home felt more like a hotel. I often finished dinner before he returned, and when he did, we'd simply eat and then retire for the night. His indifference towards me was apparent, and I could sense that he wasn't planning to change this situation soon. Feeling guilty yet unable to resist, I found myself rubbing my foot on Jay's leg during lunch one day. The desire in his eyes was palpable. I was yearning for attention from my own husband, but wasn't getting it. That night, I acted impulsively, something I hadn't planned or wanted to do. I slept with Jay at his place. The accumulated frustration of days prompted me to make this reckless decision. In the dead of the night, while Jay was still asleep, I left for home. I didn't know how to explain myself to him. As I got into my car, there were 2 missed calls from my husband. I prayed fervently that he had slept by the time I arrived home. I wasn't ready to confront him. Upon reaching home, I found my husband asleep. A sense of relief washed over me, followed by a shower. The next morning, when my husband asked where I was the previous night, I merely said I had an unexpected work meeting that ran late. Ignoring it, he finished his toast. I felt remorseful for deceiving him, yet his indifference towards me lingered uneasily. Determined, I decided not to meet Jay again. The work contract with him was nearing completion, thus minimizing our encounters due to work. I made up my mind that it was just a one-time affair. I was married with a son. Such recklessness couldn't be afforded. This decision led me to the office, where I attempted to shut out the world. My husband's altered behavior had left a profound impact on me, and he remained oblivious. For the entire week, I immersed myself in work. Evenings were spent at my desk. I knew no one waited for me at home as they used to. My son was still at summer camp, returning only after another month. I attempted conversation with him during the week, but he was always engrossed in his activities, leaving little time for a proper chat. At least he was enjoying himself. Since that night, Jay didn't reach out to me. Though I'd thought otherwise, I wasn't entirely taken aback by what happened. Despite my decision to limit our encounter to one night, his silence afterwards felt strange. As I exited the office on Friday, there was Jay waiting for me outside. To say I was startled upon seeing him would be an understatement. He approached me and embraced me, confessing that he missed me. I was taken aback by this revelation. I informed him that we couldn't revisit what transpired that night, considering it a mistake. His words hurt him, but he refused to let me go. He claimed he didn't believe my assertion and considered it as more than just a mistake. In all honesty, when he said this, the resolve I had held about our one-night encounter crumbled. I found myself longing to kiss him again and did so. He guided me to his car in the parking lot, where we grew intimate for the first time like that. It was an unfamiliar sensation that I grew fond of. I informed him I'd phone him later, headed to my car, and drove home. Immediately upon entering, I took a shower. Upon my husband's arrival and his immediately retiring without a single goodnight kiss, I resolved to reconnect with Jay. That night, I pondered if my actions were selfish and improper, but at least I didn't feel neglected in his company. I acknowledged that what I was doing was wrong, but there was a voice within me whispering, disregard the consequences, thus commencing my affair with Jay. He was aware of my marital status and child, showing no concern. He proposed we maintain a low-key relationship, avoiding public outings together. Recalling our past interactions, we could simply socialize as colleagues or friends. I concurred to this arrangement. Our association progressed smoothly. There wasn't much to conceal or contrive since my husband showed little interest in inquiring about my whereabouts. I'd only casually inform him when I arrived home late or he couldn't contact me, and whatever vague responses I provided seemed sufficient for him. He never showed interest in delving deeper. Although it might seem reassuring that my spouse wasn't suspicious, it also felt unsettling. My husband wasn't suspicious because he didn't take the time to worry about it, not because he trusted me. I used to rendezvous with Jay at his residence, or he would collect me after work if he was available. We also met for lunches and dinners. At times, we became intimate in the car or elevator when there were no cameras present. I never thought an affair with a client would be this exhilarating, but it was. I had never felt such an adrenaline rush before. I had grown accustomed to our bedroom activities, but the excitement of getting intimate in public places and cars proved too enticing to resist. Being with Jay made me realize that I had been missing out on a great deal. It was with Jay that I finally discovered the enjoyment and thrill that should have been there with my spouse. Since I can't pick and choose, I accepted what came my way and appreciated it too. Upon my son's return from summer camp following 2 months, I had to readjust according to his routine as well. Initially, I spent less time with Jay, but I eventually arranged our time together more efficiently. The relationship with Jay didn't have a specific endpoint in mind, and I was unsure of how to handle it. When I shared my concerns with Jay, he comforted me, advising us to tackle one day at a time rather than worrying about the future. This sense of reassurance was reassuring. My husband had never provided such assurance. Primarily due to his work commitments, he rarely could. Although I can't solely blame his promotion for it, even before his promotion, he was engrossed in his job. It was I who shouldered most of the responsibilities concerning our home and son, duties that were supposed to be shared with him. His promotion merely escalated the situation. Initially, he would spare some time for me on weekends or post-dinner, but that phase had ended. I stopped fretting over it after I began my relationship with Jay. I was receiving affection both in the bedroom and beyond. With each passing day, I grew less affected by my spouse's actions. It became evident that he didn't truly value me. I was merely blind to this reality earlier on. He never attempted to rekindle intimacy with me. Granted, I no longer crave it now, but it demonstrated his disregard for me. I contemplated a permanent separation from him, yet set those thoughts aside for our son's sake. Despite being an unfulfilling partner, he proved himself to be a good father. He ensured our son had everything he desired, including attention. It was unusual when my spouse prioritized work over other matters, and coincidentally, all such instances involved our son. I couldn't bear the thought of separating my son from his father. I didn't wish to be separated from my child either. I opted for shared custody against the norm since I wished to prevent my son from constantly transitioning between parents. My decision to maintain the marriage stemmed from the desire to provide stability for him. However, affection towards my spouse began dwindling swiftly. The house belonged to my son alone in essence. For the first time in a long while, I felt genuine happiness. Career success accompanied this bliss, along with an amicable relationship with Jay. Domestic tranquility was as good as it could be under the circumstances. My spouse remained engrossed in work, oblivious to my absence from his life. I utilized my lunch breaks to spend time with Jay, so that I could head home immediately after work to my son. Jay comprehended my circumstance and accommodated our meetings to suit me best. His understanding was almost unbelievable. Despite everything seemingly falling in place as per my plans, reality painted a starkly different picture. A sudden and startling turn of events brought the worst-case scenario to life. One afternoon, I dropped my phone down the stairs as I left for lunch with Jay. Assuming it could wait for repair, I was eager to meet him, so we went to his house. Since it was Friday, I was able to leave work early. I reached home around 6, only to find that my son wasn't there as expected. Instead, our nanny Beth was alone at home. She informed me that my son had developed a high fever at school and needed immediate hospitalization. His teacher had tried to reach me multiple times, but couldn't get through. My husband took the call and was already with him at the hospital. Rushing to the hospital, I realized it was due to my careless phone incident that my son was without me during his hospital stay. In the hospital, I found my husband sitting with our son, who was narrating some school story. Immediately, I hastened to my son's side. At that point, he was improving. My spouse didn't inquire about anything at that moment. Later, a doctor arrived and informed us that our son had contracted flu and could return home. Using my car, I transported our son home, while my husband mentioned he needed to get to the office as he had left work in haste to reach here. Upon returning home, I fed our son, placed him to sleep, and made a mental note to repair my phone the following day. That night, I slept in my son's room. In the middle of the night around 2 a.m., I woke up to find my husband standing by the door. He was staring at me. Initially, I felt frightened, but soon realized it was only him, and I relaxed. His work clothes were still on, and he asked when I had returned home. He stated that he was just arriving home and wanted to check on our son before retiring for the night. I nodded in response. He then inquired about where I was when the teacher called. I explained that my phone had malfunctioned, thus the inability to contact me. Skepticism crossed his face. I gestured towards the damaged phone on the nearby shelf for verification. He revealed he knew I wasn't at the office. He stated that he had called my office, and they informed him that I had left for lunch and hadn't returned. Unsurprised by this, I hadn't given much thought to what to tell him. In the end, I mentioned a meeting that ran late. He didn't show any reaction to indicate whether he believed me or not. I hoped he accepted it, after which I returned to attend to my son. The following day, I chose to remain home with my son, but needed to repair my phone, so I briefly left while Beth was there with him. A new phone replaced the old one, as fixing it would have taken too long. Initially, I reached out to Jay, sharing all details with him, who, as usual, was sympathetic and assured his support. Subsequent to inquiring about my whereabouts after asking, my spouse remained silent and departed for work. Days following were smooth. My son recovered and returned to school, while I too resumed office duties. During lunch breaks, I met Jay. Upon arriving home one Friday, my husband was present, a rarity considering his usual early departure. Surprised, I couldn't recall the last time he had been home before me. I smiled at him, intending to shower, but he halted me. Inquiring about my activities during lunch, he claimed to have visited my office to secure my signature on certain bank documents, to which I responded truthfully as before. He appeared convinced. He acknowledged me and released me, murmuring trust in me before I left. The remorse those words instilled within me is indescribable. I was involved in an affair while he remained my husband, yet this man still trusted me. Overwhelmed by guilt, I couldn't stop crying in the shower. We had not been ideal spouses to each other. It felt unjust that he trusted me when I was betraying him. I realized I needed to end it. I faced two choices: confess my actions to my husband and end things with Jay, or break up with Jay. The thought of losing either of them made me cry more. Jay was a kind person, always good to me, but there was no future for us. I couldn't abandon my son and husband. I decided it was time to terminate my relationship with Jay. After the weekend passed, I planned our final meeting. It transpired that the decision couldn't be made, as it was already past due. The following day was a Saturday, and I had arranged to spend it at home with my son. I remained unaware of my husband's activities for that day. Ever since his promotion, he rarely shared anything and usually worked, even on weekends. However, on this occasion, he opted to stay at home with us instead of going to the office, which was unexpected. The day prior also saw him arrive home before me. A gut feeling hinted at something amiss, but I dismissed it as mere guilt and anxiety about being discovered. In the living room, our son had gone to the park with Beth, while my husband and I sat together. He revealed that he wished to discuss something with me. His demeanor was tranquil and composed, leading me to believe he wasn't aware of my infidelity with Jay. Yet, I was wrong about his knowledge. My husband informed me in a calm manner that he had uncovered my affair. He mentioned that his suspicions were first raised when I began returning home late, but they were confirmed following our son's hospitalization. He detailed his past visits to my office at noon, catching me exit the car with Jay. He shared the photographs of us he'd snapped on his phone. I could no longer deceive him. There was no point in doing so, given the incriminating images of us kissing. I took the only course of action left. I conceded. He inquired about how it all unfolded. I recounted the origins of our relationship. I explained that it originated after his promotion and his subsequent neglect towards me. I bared my feelings, told him how Jay made me feel desired. He maintained a nonchalant expression as I shared everything with him. I also informed him of my plans to terminate things on Monday. He doubted my intentions. He chuckled and reiterated that I no longer needed to deceive him. He was already privy to my hidden affair, he said. However, he voiced his inability to trust anything I said from then on. He explained that he was putting in immense effort at work to create the life we desired. He mentioned plans for an imminent international trip for us. I was aware of my shortcomings as a spouse, but I hadn't been unfaithful to you. Harshly, he conveyed his intention to provide all that I needed and our son. Emotions overtook me, and I couldn't hold back the tears any longer. He didn't waver in expressing what he felt necessary. He had intended to address the matter a day earlier, but chose to let me confess on my own. This was his way of demonstrating trust. He wanted to gauge my reaction. I had made a grave mistake. He left me sobbing in the living room. Upon returning, he offered me a glass of water. The gesture surprised me, and then I noticed the envelope he held. I recognized its contents, divorce papers, but was unprepared for this reality. "I prepared them once I saw you in the parking lot," he told me. I wasn't prepared to part ways under these circumstances, but he seemed resolute, so I reluctantly accepted the envelope from him. As I had anticipated, it contained divorce documents. Despite recognizing my role in our predicament, the pain was still profound. To my dismay, the papers outlined his request for full custody of our son. I protested, stating that he couldn't do this to me. He argued that it was for the boy's benefit if he stayed with him rather than me. I made it clear that I would never agree to those terms. He responded by asserting that it didn't matter what I wanted. He was determined to take our son from me. He suggested that it would be best if I signed the papers without a fuss, and he'd allow me visitation rights. If not, he threatened to tell our son that I had been unfaithful to him, ensuring he grew up hating me. This left me astounded. I wasn't sure whether his words were sincere or empty threats. Our son was merely 5 years old. Hearing such devastating news could shatter his young heart. I recognized that my spouse would go to great lengths to attain what he desired, and there was a chance he might use our son in such a manner. Having already caused him pain due to my affair, even if he wasn't aware of it, I still felt it was inappropriate on my part. I couldn't let him despise me. I attempted to convince my husband that it was pointless to take him away from me, given his busy work schedule. It would be better for him to remain with me. I pleaded with him earnestly, yet he remained unyielding, stating that I had 2 days to sign these documents or risk showing our son a picture of me with Jay. I wasn't sure if he was being serious or not, but I couldn't take the chance of traumatizing my son by exposing him to such a sight. I wanted a positive future for him. I contacted Jay after my husband left me in the living room and terminated our relationship. Jay understood my child was vital to me, so he didn't dispute. Instead, he advised me to take care and not hesitate to contact him if needed. Unaware of this, I appreciated his concern. I contacted my lawyer about the custody arrangements in the divorce documents. He suggested that I had the right to refuse those terms and fight for full custody. I couldn't inform him that my husband was extorting me to disclose my secret to my son. I swiftly ended our conversation. I recognized there was no viable solution for me. Regardless, I would lose my child either way, either by refusing to sign these terms, exposing my secret and risking his eternal animosity, or signing these papers, allowing him to live with his father. I opted for the latter choice and signed the documents. Although I could keep my distance from my son, I couldn't bear the thought of him harboring animosity towards me. At least he would have fond memories to recall when he recalls me. My spouse approved of my signature on the separation paperwork and informed me I had a week to explain to our son why I was leaving our home. He knew it would be agonizing for me to tell him, even though I didn't want to leave in the first place. I felt certain that he was exacting his revenge for putting me through this ordeal. I understood I'd have to deal with the repercussions of my affair, but never expected to lose custody because of it. I delayed filing for divorce due to our son, yet today I had no choice but to leave him. The most wrenching moment was informing our son that his mother would be departing. He wept so much the first time I told him that I began to cry too. Just thinking about it makes me want to cry now. With great effort, I made him understand that Dad would look after him and we'd meet soon. The anguish in his eyes made me want to crumble at that moment. I maintained my composure for the sake of my child. For the entire week, I cherished every moment with him. When Friday arrived, I drove him to school and informed him I wouldn't be home upon his return. His tears fell once more, and I embraced him, assuring him we would meet soon. My husband had observed us throughout the week. I thought perhaps witnessing me so distraught might make him reconsider, but my hopes were in vain. The movers had been called to transport my belongings to my company's apartment, as I could only arrange this with such short notice. As I departed our home, my husband was present. He displayed no emotion, as I had not expected any from him. He had always shown me indifference. He informed me that he had initiated the divorce process, and his lawyers would contact me regarding the subsequent matters. I gave a nod in agreement. I urged him to care for our son diligently and apologized for everything. He assured me that he would take good care of our son, and I should no longer worry about him. After that, I remained silent and departed from the house. Over a month has passed since this incident took place, and our divorce proceedings continue. Since it's an uncontested divorce, we were told it would be settled soon by our lawyers. I moved into the corporate housing provided for me. I didn't have the strength to search for something else. My ex-husband allows me to contact our son 3 times. I long for him terribly. It grieves my heart. The only consolation is that he is being well treated. My husband has always been a good father. I knew he would care for our son properly. Our son informed me that his father returns home early from work and then plays with him. It was bittersweet to learn this, as if only he had come home early for me, we wouldn't be in this situation now. I understand that it is not fair to blame him for my infidelity, but the pain persists knowing he couldn't make these life changes while I was still there. Now, I concentrate on my work since I have nothing else to engage with. Since our conversation at home, I haven't reached out to Jay, nor has he attempted to contact me. I appreciate this silence. Post-separation, I find it impossible to contemplate any further involvement. The remorse of my affair gnaws heavily on me. If only I hadn't given in to impulse and begun the relationship with Jay, I might still be residing with my son, and perhaps my husband would have resumed showing affection towards me after some time. I yearn for what could have been if I had waited rather than cheating on him. 2 months have passed since I left the house. The divorce has been officially sanctioned by the court. When my lawyer inquired about any desired assets from my husband, I categorically declined. I desired only my son, and as I couldn't possess him, nothing else piqued my interest. My husband has already moved on. My son disclosed that he had observed Beth, the nanny, exiting my husband's room in the mornings. This revelation left me stunned. At around 30, Beth was in her prime. Yet, I questioned if it would be simple for him to let go and move forward. However, a second thought surfaced, realizing my lack of right to judge given my past indiscretion that led to our marital downfall. Despite the lingering remorse, I informed my son that perhaps Beth had forgotten something at his father's place. Regardless of my ex-husband's low tactics in manipulating our son against me, I refused to retaliate through our child's emotions. I was content with the freedom to communicate with him whenever desired. Beth would call when my son requested her to, a gesture for which I was thankful. Perhaps she harbored guilt for her infidelity with my former spouse. Nonetheless, I continued to appreciate this kindness. Weekends were spent with my son, precious moments that now define the essence of my life. He ensures I'm privy to every minor detail, fearing I might miss out on anything. The pang of regret from initiating the affair persists. The emotional blow came when I had to return my 6-year-old son to his father's home, a house that was once mine too. It has been a year since my previous update. My son has acclimated remarkably well to the changes. He ceased crying for me 6 months following my departure. Now he merely offers me a smile when I drop him off. This brings a mixed sense of relief and pain. While it's comforting not to be the cause of his tears, it also hurts, wondering if he misses me or not. Additionally, my ex-spouse is now engaged to Beth, with their wedding scheduled within 6 months. Despite being the one who infidelity, witnessing him with someone else still causes pain. Seeing them together in the house we once built was particularly painful. I found out about the engagement when I dropped off my son at his father's place, where I saw them sharing an intimate kiss. I couldn't recall the last time he had kissed me so intimately. I cleared my throat as a signal, and upon seeing me, Beth grew bashful, while my former spouse appeared pleased. I noticed a ring on Beth's finger, and my ex shared that he and Beth had become engaged and were planning to wed soon. I forced a smile, which I sensed gave him satisfaction since he knew I was upset. He then kissed her again, evidently seeking revenge for my past infidelity. I bid farewell after kissing my son goodbye. I'd like to express gratitude to everyone who refrained from passing judgment and instead offered comfort and empathy. You may not know me personally, but your kindness meant a great deal to me.